Man. What's up, bro?
How's it going, man?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, let's rip this.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I just wanted to kind of ask you a few questions. Mainly just started off like with you telling me exactly what you do, like how you kind of got started with what you're doing now.
Right on. So, November of 2021, I started my accounting business. And it started out mostly just bookkeeping for some local friends that I had. I did that through college, slowly growing it and getting all the pieces in place to go full time with it when I got done with school and football. And so November of this past year, November 2022, is when my football career ended and I was done with college, and that's when I jumped all in. And at this point, we are full service accounting, so full service accounting, unlimited consulting, visual reports for online business owners is really what we do. So we strive to be essentially businesses outsourced accounting departments where we just handle everything.
Awesome, awesome. What was your initial like inspiration or idea or you know what I mean? How did you get started wanting to do something along these lines?
Sure. So in 2019, Um, 2019, 2020, kind of right as COVID was hitting, I worked at an accounting firm in the same city where I went to college, and there was where I learned the accounting software. I kind of learned the business model from them. I was a super shitty employee at the time, looking back at it. It was a crazy time of life, but I learned so much from those owners. They're awesome people, who were super successful guys. And that's where I saw the business model that they were running, the software they were using. That's where I learned the software, and kind of learned that there was a career path in accounting outside of public accounting, outside of like just going to a big four accounting firm.
Right.
So that's kind of where I learned that. And then I also did a tax internship at another firm where I learned some of the more tax stuff. And I was able to kind of just fuse those together essentially.
Cool, awesome. And that kind of
Because you
segue.
see, because you
Right.
see, just to add on to that, like you
Yeah.
see like in accounting firms, like there's a ton, or not accounting firms, in accounting programs like at school, it's all geared towards public accounting, which is like
Right.
publicly traded companies, huge companies. And the accounting for Apple and Microsoft is different than the accounting for like a digital marketing agency. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Right.
inherently different. So, but you don't really see that when you're in school. So going to work at that business and then working at the tax firm for a while, like you just see that there's a huge gap in the market for those like small to mid-sized businesses.
Right, I got you. Yeah, so something you said in your first part of your answer that kind of segues me into the next question I had was kind of what made you decide to make online businesses kind of more of your niche target, if that makes sense.
Sure. So our first few clients actually weren't online, and I still have them as clients. I have a landscaper, I have a window and door guy. But going through sales calls, and the more that I studied business, watching Alex Ramosi, Cold Email Wizard on Twitter, um, they always are like, don't sell to poor people. Like, you want to target people that have money that can afford your services, right?
Right.
And what I noticed on my sales calls, like, there's times, and don't get me wrong, there's contractors that make a ton
Yeah.
of money, but there's just a difference between talking to someone who's maybe 40 years old, maybe they make 150, 200,000 a year doing contracting,
Mhm.
versus like the 26-year-old online agency owner who's making 30K a month,
Right.
40K a month. Um, like those younger people I've just found in my experience so far are a little bit easier to work with. They're a little bit more open to the coaching that I give them, as far as accounting and financially. And they just have more money to spend, is what I've seen. They're not as frugal, essentially.
Right.
They understand the value a little bit better, and have been a little bit easier to work with. So that's why I've kind of segued from being just service businesses in general to online businesses.
Oh, awesome. Now that makes sense. So, I can also see how maybe you being a young mid 20s guy as well, maybe you can help relate more to them as well, just even personally on a more personal level, and with other things also being a business owner, you can relate to them on more of a personal level and build a better connection with them and people like that maybe.
Totally. So, like, a lot of my clients actually come from Twitter, money Twitter, the younger guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of accountants are older, um, and a lot of them don't quite understand some of the newer business models at times, as well as a lot of these younger Twitter guys, like they don't want to work with some fucking just super old guy that they talk to like twice a year
Uh,
that doesn't really understand what's going on anyways. From what I've seen, they want someone that's super responsive and they want someone that's young and chill that is kind of just like their homie that helps them with accounting. And, for that segment of clients and people that I go after on Twitter, that's really, um, how I frame it and how it goes and what's helped make it successful for sure. That relatability.
for sure. Awesome. So, what kind of things that you do? Then you kind of touched on it a little bit with a lot of these maybe older accountants, a little more old school, and compared to some of the guys you work with who are younger and they want someone who's more responsive and things like that. What are some of the things that set you apart from maybe a guy like that has helped you be a little bit more successful and help you brought more value to some of these businesses and people?
Totally. So I would say as a whole, accounting is like a dinosaur industry. It's been kind of slowly adapting some of the new technology and some of the better ways to provide service to clients, which is why there's such a huge opportunity in the accounting sector, is because the people that are going to push the industry forward and adopt some of this technology, they're going to crush it, which is what I'm trying to do right now. I would say the biggest difference, really, your typical CPA firm is a super reactive approach, right? Like
Okay.
you'll have someone that's been running their business for a year, no accounting, just wheeling and dealing, doing what they can. They'll go to a CPA firm at the end of the year and just throw all their documents at them, and they'll just pump out your tax return. And what people fail to realize, and some of the time it's probably a decent return for what they get and what the preparer has, but a lot of those tax preparers, their goal isn't necessarily to give you the best tax return possible. It's to be compliant and file it
Right.
and just make sure it's compliant to where they're not really on your team necessarily, and at the end of the year, once that year passes and we go into the next year, there's only so much that can be done from an accounting standpoint. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
just a reactive approach to where if something happened in the middle of the year and that person didn't tell their accountant about it, well, they might just be screwed. They just get hit with a huge tax bill, right? To where we take a much more proactive approach to where, part of the package is unlimited consulting, and that's one of the things that really sets us apart. You get access to me or whoever your designated accountant is, and you just get unlimited access. So we're working on, a week, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. We're working year round,
Mhm.
doing your bookkeeping, doing your accounting. So that way there's no surprises really, and it's a proactive approach. So that
Right.
way, like I said, you're not getting hit at the end of the year. If we see coming towards year end that they made a ton of money, they're going to get hit with a huge tax bill. We have some time, to wheel and deal and help reduce that tax liability. So the main differentiators is we're a proactive approach rather than a reactive approach, as well as we provide unlimited consulting and visual monthly reports, instead of just sending you numbers that might not mean anything to someone that doesn't quite understand the accounting side of things.
No, that makes sense. That's awesome. So, what is kind of your main method of communication with a lot of these guys then? Are you like texting these guys on the phone? Is this DM, email? Um,
I would say it's a mix primarily of text and email with some calling. They are able to call me whenever they want, and
yeah.
that's what's been kind of funny doing it is like I'll get a client that's like, okay, dude, like just handle it. I don't even want to talk to you. Like I want to
Yeah.
talk to you like once a quarter maybe.
Well, that's
And then there's
nice.
other people that are like they want to talk every 3 days, every week, every month, and the
Uh,
communication is a lot higher. So it really does vary client to client. The amount of communication. I would say at a minimum, I talk to everybody at least once a month for 30 minutes.
uh,
Um, but yeah, mostly text and email. Um, and as it grows, and we bring on more accountants and do more stuff like that, it might turn into, maybe we use Slack to where, the client will get their Slack channel with me and their designated accountant, to streamline some of that communication. We're not quite there yet, but that's something I've played around with a little bit. Um, And right now, like clients have my cell phone number, they can just call me whenever. As it grows, I also think that I'll just add another Calendly booking. So Calendly is how they book a call with
Mhm.
me in the first
Right.
place to see if we're a good fit. And then I'll make a Calendly booking that's for clients where we'll just have like 2 hours blocked out every single day where clients can book unlimited calls for consulting or questions or whatever they need help with. This is probably what it's going to turn into here in the near future.
Awesome. So that kind of brings me to another point is as far as hiring another accountant or sales rep or employee, whatever it might be, have you kind of thought about that and what would that process look like for you? What would you be looking for if you were to bring on someone to kind of help do what you do?
Yeah, so I do have this kind of road mapped out. So right now, how it's structured is there's me, I'm the sole owner, sole worker. I'm the only one in the such accounting technically.
Okay.
And I really am the face of the business. I do all the communicating, all the bookkeeping, making sure that they're taken care of. And then from there, I have two strategic partners. So in St. George, I did my master's degree with this guy, and his dad owns a CPA firm that focuses on payroll. So they do payroll for over 500 businesses in all 50 states, and they're just legit in payroll. So anytime I have clients that need payroll, I have them do the fulfillment, and the retainer that the client pays me, I use that money to pay them to run the payroll essentially, which is super slick. Payroll can get really messy. It's a high audit risk type of thing. So, they just handle that. And then on the other side, I have a tax CPA who's a strategic partner, and his function is he helps with some of the higher level tax questions and tax strategies, as well as he actually files the client's tax returns. And so, kind of what it looks like is, I'm in the business year round, communicating with my two strategic partners and the client. And then when it's time for the tax return, I gather all the information, all the necessary documents and info, and I pass it off to him. And that way we get an extra set of expert eyes going over the return to actually file the return. So that's worked really great. I am planning, if things go as I would like them to go, I will be bringing on a senior tax accountant by the end of this year is what I'm shooting for. And I'm really excited for that. I'm really trying to make sure that, you always hear people, they talk about how there's so much learning that goes on when you go to make your first hire. So I'm going to try to, minimize the mistakes best I can and get, an A player. I'm open to even offering a rev share, maybe even some equity to get the right person to build out the accounting team for the fulfillment.
Mhm.
And then from there, I'll be more, I'll be checking in with clients all the time, making sure everything's going good, but also doubling down on the accounting, not the accounting, the content and the sales and systems and processes, and making sure that it grows out the way it needs to.
Awesome, awesome. So there's another thing I wanted to hit on when it comes to a lot of the people who have online businesses that you work with, or maybe that you have talked to, reached out to, and don't work with. But what are some of the mistakes that you notice a lot of people running an online business making, specifically when it comes to maybe the bookkeeping or accounting realm side of things? And like, what could you do to, or what could someone do to help minimize those mistakes and like um, maximize return and profit and all
Sure. Yeah. Well, the way that you minimize the mistakes is you hire me, first of all. um, you know, people don't go into business to do accounting. They just don't. They go into business because they have a unique skill, they have a unique product, and just them doing the accounting just makes sense like almost never.
that.
But some of the big mistakes, especially, you have people that'll just start, which is great. Like like with business, you should just start to
Right.
see, you
Hmm.
know, if you do have a product market fit, a service market fit, and all that. But then sometimes they just never, do it the right way. They just do it, there's a fit, and they just make a bunch of money. And the biggest mistake, especially people that just start out, they run into a lot of money quickly, is they're running the business and the personal out of their personal bank accounts. That's probably the biggest mistake that needs to be avoided. Um, it's not hard to get business bank accounts. You get your LLC and you get your EIN after you know that you have a product market fit, like that you can make money doing this thing. Then you get an LLC, you get an EIN, and you just take those docs to your local credit union, Mercury if you want online banking. That's usually what I recommend. And then from there, it's super easy to get business bank accounts. They'll give you a checking account, a credit card, and a savings account.
Hmm.
And then from there, we really want all of the income, all the expenses, anything business related to be going in and out of that account instead of that personal account. And one of the big reasons why is because expenses often get lost in your personal accounts. It's just way harder to track how much money you're actually making and how much money you're actually spending in regards to your business, right? So if you think about it this way, say you spent a significant amount of money on business expenses in your personal account. Well, you don't track them, you don't really write them down, you're just not even sure how much you spent on certain stuff. When it comes time to do your tax return, there's no way for your accountant to know that you spent those things on your business. So
Right.
then essentially you end up paying more tax than you needed to because those expenses weren't properly accounted for, if that makes sense. So the biggest thing is have business bank accounts once you have a client or two and you're making you know decent money. That's a big one. Um, some people hire their spouse to do it. That usually does more damage than just hiring an accountant or doing it yourself. Um, Another one that I see a lot from self-employed online business owners is when they're bookkeeping, they make a bunch of money, it goes in their business account, which is great, and then they go to pay themselves. And so they'll transfer, $5,000 or whatever from their business account into their personal account. And then when they go to do the bookkeeping, they'll categorize that transaction as like salaries paid or wages paid because they think in their head, oh, I'm paying myself, that makes sense.
Right.
But that's actually wrong. So as an owner, when you take money out of the business for your personal stuff, it's actually an owner's draw. And when you put money into the business from your personal account, it's an owner's contribution. And the reason why that's significant is owner's draws and owner's contributions actually go on the balance sheet, whereas those salaries paid, that's considered an expense, so it goes on the income statement. So it's really just going to throw off your numbers and your tax return and all that type of stuff. So that's another big bookkeeping mistake. But really, if I had to say another mistake, it's just waiting too long, to outsource their accounting and get someone that is a financial expert kind of in their corner on their team. I always tell people, sometimes I get on sales calls and they're like, yeah, like I'm just not sure if I need this yet. I'm not sure if I'm big enough or it makes sense. And I always try to tell people, I'm like, legal stuff, accounting stuff, money stuff, you're always better to be proactive about it than wait too long. Like it's way easier to just get it all set in place the right way and do it the right way from the start than trying to go back and fix it all, right? So it's just don't wait too long. And there's good resources on how to do it yourself, but just the mental bandwidth it takes to do that. I mean, some of the accounting stuff I'm still like hitting up accountants for at times, like, hey, what should I do here? And it's like I have a master's degree. I did it for 5 years, and I still have questions, and so I
Right.
just can't imagine how difficult it would be as someone that has no accounting background trying to do it on their own. So really, you know, business bank accounts and don't wait too long to get someone in your corner.
Awesome. So go back to that when you're talking to someone, they say, I don't know if I'm big enough for this yet, or I don't know if I'm making enough money to hire someone yet. And now you said it's a lot better to be proactive. Kind of talk about how it would be beneficial for someone who's maybe not, making, let's say, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 with their business, and they're thinking that, hey, I'm not making enough for this quite yet. I'm not big enough for this yet. Maybe go into a little more detail explaining why it would be beneficial for someone like that to be proactive, hire an accountant, hire someone like you right away.
Sure. So the other great thing about our type of service is it's like a quadruple win when someone comes on with us because the money that they pay me is tax deductible for them, so it reduces their taxable income. And then the nature of our business is to give them more financial data so they can make better decisions, which ultimately leads to them making more money. And then also the nature of our business is to reduce their taxes. So really it's like by paying us, you're reducing your taxes, then our service reduces your taxes, and then our service puts you in a position to make more money. So really it's a service that pays for itself and sometimes even like more than that pays for itself. It pays for itself and then some.
Right.
So there's that. And it's tough, like, I would say if you're a serious business owner, how serious are you if you don't know exactly how much you're making every month and exactly how much you're spending on certain stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, there's a lot of expenses out there that people sign up for and pay for and then forget about, and they're just getting drained. Or there's a lot of people out there that just wheel and deal out of their bank accounts, and it might feel like they're making money, but they're actually losing money, or they're not making as much money as they think they are.
Right.
So really, you don't know what you don't know. So by us being able to give you that, um, information is super powerful. I would also say, if you're at, 70K a year net profit, the amount that the amount of time that you're spending trying to keep the accounting in order, trying to get everything gathered and put together for your accountant at the end of the year, trying to do the bookkeeping throughout the year. If you had all that time to double down on your strengths to make more money, if you're actually good at what you do, you'll make more money using
Right.
that time to do your skill or improve your skill than what you would pay me, right? So it's
Absolutely.
just it's wins all around when you start working with a good accountant and people that understand finances.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about your like sales process as well, kind of how you go about um, reaching out to people, whether you're emailing, DMing, cold calling, whatever it might be. How you go about gathering business, and just kind of get into more of the sales side of things.
Sure. So, there's inbound and there's outbound. And for outbound, there's two main channels. Twitter DMs, I get most of my booked calls and clients, a lot of them came from Twitter, and then cold emailing, which I've just kind of started in this last month,
Mhm.
which has been awesome. I've already signed a new client through cold email, and I've had a decent amount of calls, which has been awesome. But those outbound stuff, it's really simple. Like everybody needs an accountant at some point. Like they just do. Like
Mhm.
nobody gets rich without an accountant. So it's one of those things where I kind of am just pretty straightforward, especially on Twitter. I'm super straightforward. I'm like, "What's up, bro? Like, do you need an accountant?" And either no, not yet, or I already have one I love. Okay, that's great. And then the other half of the time they're like, "Oh shit, like I actually do. Like, let's chat. Let's do it."
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, sweet, easy money." And we hop on a call and get going there. Once I actually get them on a call, or and like I said, there's inbound too. So I put a lot on Twitter. I post a lot on YouTube, TikTok, that type of stuff. About to start breaking into Instagram. So sometimes they see that content and then they book a call with me organically, which is inbound, and those are awesome. Those are the easier sells for sure because they've looked at your stuff, they've read your stuff. Some trust has already been built. Um, so once we get to the call, I really haven't needed I don't have a sales script. Like I kind of have a decent flow, a
Yeah.
decent idea,
Where
and
you need
really
to
I just kind of believe in providing as much value as I can, like a really consultative sales approach. So we hop on and I just ask them to tell me about their business, how they make money, what they spend money on, and what their accounting situation looks like, and what problems they're facing in regards to their accounting situation. And as they tell me that, I give them some tips on what they could do right now, even if they don't work with me, some stuff that they could do right now to help improve that situation.
Right.
And then if I feel like they're a good fit, someone that I would want to work with long term, because people don't really churn from our service. I mean, it does happen occasionally, but most people that stay with us for years and
Right.
are going to stay with us for years. I mean, I've been doing it for about 2 years on my own, but I've really only had two people drop off, and one of them was because I ended the relationship. So people are staying with us for a long time. I expect clients to stay 5, 10, 20 years, 30 years, who knows. So if I don't feel like they're a good fit or fit in with our culture and our values, then sometimes I don't even extend an offer on the call. But if I feel like they'd be a good fit, then I kind of go into our service and what we provide, how we're different, and the benefits that they get from working with us, and kind of give them an offer to work together. And a lot of the times that's a one call close. A lot of times it's okay, yeah, that makes sense. This is a ton of value for the price. Totally makes sense. Let's do it. And then from there, I just send a service agreement, which I don't lock anyone in on like a time commitment. It's more just outlining expectations.
Hmm.
Um, and then I send the invoice, and we get rolling. I mean, there's been some times where I send a proposal, and they want to talk to their partner or whatever the case
Right.
is. to where sometimes there's a second call, but I'd say 90-95% of the time it's a one call, and at the end of that first call, it's a yes or a no.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Then you touched on working with people you like and building a relationship with the client. What would be some advice or some tips you would give to someone, or on like how you would make those long-lasting relationships? Things that you can do to provide value that wants to keep someone working with you.
Sure. And if people like you, they're going to stay with you longer.
Right. Yeah. one hundred
Like,
percent.
period. They just
100%.
are. Um, so it's kind of funny. I was actually talking to my girlfriend's dad today, and he's been in corporate sales for a really long time. He had his own business for a long time. A really smart guy, and he was like, he gave me this new frame, and it's how I'm going to operate going forward. And I kind of already have been, but like really doubled down on it. And I was asking him a question about something, and he's like, okay, what would the Lamborghini of accounting businesses do right here? You know what I mean? Because there's a difference between the service and what you get when you buy from Lamborghini versus when you buy from Ford,
Right.
right? And it's a lot of what that has to do with is the personal touch, the personal service, feeling special, to where, like I said earlier, one of the main problems with accountants these days is they take on way too many clients, like way more clients than they can even handle because they only do individual stuff, or they take on like individual tax return clients. We only work with businesses, and then we just throw in their personal tax return as like an add-on. Um, and so because they work with so many people, the communication is just so bad. Like I've had stories of like people waiting days, weeks just to get an email back from somebody or a call back, to where from us being able to provide super, super responsive service, like that's what we hang our hat on. Like
Yeah.
I'm replying mostly within minutes, for sure within a day. And if it's over a day, it's because something is like seriously going on.
Yeah.
Um, so we provide super, super responsive communication and service. I also think we stick out a lot in our onboarding process, which is also something I learned from that first accounting firm I worked with. Um, so we print out physical service agreements, a physical welcome packet, a handwritten thank you note. I send them a very personalized gift. Um, because, if you think about it, if you're an online business owner and you're like, okay, I signed up with this accounting firm, I expect them to do my accounting, hopefully it goes good. And then boom, you get hit with a fucking welcome packet, service agreement, handwritten note, and a gift. You're just like, oh my gosh, like they're going above and beyond to make sure that I feel welcomed and I know that I'm going to get taken care of.
Right.
So that's what we really, really shoot for there. And one thing I learned from that first accounting firm, I won't forget ever what he said. Most businesses can't even deliver on what they promise.
Right.
They'll promise this and they end up here.
Hmm.
To where if I can promise this and deliver on it, which we do, and then we go just a little bit more, then those clients are going to be like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
this is the best service I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
To where we do provide an amazing accounting service on top of we are extremely responsive. They get a gift, they get physical stuff, to where then they're just like, wow, this sledge accounting is freaking awesome. So
Right.
that's some of the ways that we're able to keep people on for a long time. I mean, obviously, product is everything. Like if we had a shitty accounting service, people would churn and wouldn't be here. So
Right.
that's obviously a priority. We want the service to be, amazing. Like I said, the
Yeah.
Lamborghini of accounting services. But some of those personalized touches, you know, that's what gets people to stay because they know they're getting a personal touch, personal care, and it's the security. They're feeling like they're really being taken care of on a personal level. I'm not just shipping their stuff overseas for overseas accountants to do and never
Right.
talking to them again.
Uh-huh.
That's not the point of what we're doing.
Yeah. No, I've noticed it a lot too, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. Is even just like a lot of companies will, like you mentioned, they can't even deliver on what they promise. And then if you reach out to someone and they don't get responses very quickly from the person they're currently working with, even by just hitting on those like bare minimum things, they know that you're taking care of them and that you have their best interest in mind. That increases the likelihood of like building a long term relationship and long term customer like
Yeah, it totally does. And you see it a lot in the contracting world too. Like especially like where we're from, like in that St. George, Utah, like there's so much construction. It's like one of the
Yeah.
fastest growing places in the country. And you see people all the time on Facebook or whatever just complaining like, "Oh my gosh, like my contractor said he'd be here today. I haven't heard from him in 3 days," or he shows up later. He said this would be done 3 weeks ago or whatever. It's like in the contracting world, like if you answer your phone and show up on time and get projects done on time, you're gonna make 6, 7 figures,
Right.
like you just are. To where I kind of have just tried to take that same approach to accounting. Because you get let down so often, right? So many business owners, they trust these different agencies, whether it's a marketing agency, whether it's a bookkeeping, accounting agency. They try all these different services, and 90% of the time they're let down.
Uh-huh.
So then if you can actually deliver on what you're saying, then they're like, okay, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you do a little bit more, they're like, when their friend is like, hey, I kind of need an accountant, like, who are you using? They're going to be like, oh, you need to call him.
Yeah.
Like, this is the
Yep.
best solution,
Yep.
period. Same thing with, the guy that installs your pool.
Hmm.
If he comes and he does a killer job, gets it done on time, shows up on time, answers his phone every time, then when someone asks you who you need a pool from, you're saying that guy. And that's
Yep.
really the idea.
No, I mean, the referral game is huge. I mean, even with what I do, I mean, I've had handfuls and handfuls of people reach out to me just because they said, "Hey, X, Y, and Z company said that you can get me this, you can get to me this quickly, and that you're super good guy and responsive." And that's like, tenfold, 20-fold of just like the sales and the relationships that I've built with other companies just doing that alone.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and you've spent years cold calling contractors, window and door guys, and they don't answer, bro. Like they
No,
just don't.
no.
And the ones that do are the ones that typically are making all of the money. Like they're just
Oh,
capturing all of it.
yeah, no. Every time, I mean, if I'm going through Google looking for a window and door company and I see 5 reviews, and then you see someone with 200 reviews, 300 reviews, it's those guys that are super responsive, have like a well-oiled machine, a good setup with everything. They're way
Yep.
easier, way better to work with. I'm sure you noticed the same thing.
Yep. And it's not a coincidence at all. Like they just capture all of the business because they're the best and they're responsive, and that's just how it goes.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do in the accounting space, especially for online businesses and in that echo chamber of money, Twitter as well.
Awesome, awesome. So, touching a little bit more on the sales side of things, we've touched on a tiny bit, but how have you kind of gotten results? What have you noticed that has gotten you more results when it comes to reaching out, like cold DMing, emailing someone? What are some little things that your tricks you picked up from people, or just through trial and error that has helped you kind of get more
Sure.
results? What are some things that you've done that you think are bad for salespeople or business owners trying to acquire clients to do?
Totally. So, just for a little bit of context, I used to work with Brett doing cold calling and sales, and we would email a little bit. And I just remember back in the day, like, I would find someone's email and I would just rip like a fucking 8 sentence paragraph, just a full body of text.
They're not
And I was
reading.
always like, why don't these people respond? Like, I wrote something so good? And, after I'm in Client Ascension, after talking to Christian, he's the copywriting email master script writer in Client Ascension, and following him on Twitter and stuff for so long, I've learned so much. But really, just condensing that message, like less than 50 characters. And if you do have a couple sentences, like pressing enter so that it's just like
Yep.
line, line, line. Because these business owners are super busy, right? Like if they even do open your email, if they see a block of text, they're just swiping out of it. They're not even reading it. To where if it's like, hey, saw you're the founder of this place, we provide a different accounting solution, providing unlimited consulting. Just wanted to see if you need an accountant. If not, no worries. To where either you're like, no, I already have an accountant. Like I'm good. I like him. I like them. Or they're like, oh, I actually do need an accountant. Like, yeah, I'm interested. Let's hop on a call. Let's chat. Um, so like I said, really just condensing like the scripts that you're sending out has helped a ton. Um, And then on Twitter, it's even shorter for me on Twitter. Like I really just send one sentence, like, "What's good, bro? Like, do you need
Yeah.
an accountant? Yes or no?"
Yeah.
And a lot of the sales stuff is like frame and positioning, like you just don't want to come off as desperate or pushy or
Right.
needy. Like that is just the quickest way to get nobody to ever buy from you.
Yeah.
So that's why, I've my cold email stuff, I have three first email variations that go out, and the one that performs the best is at the bottom where I say, you know, if you already have an accountant, no worries. If not, let's chat. To where it's just like, no big deal. Like if you have someone you love, that's great. And if not, let's talk. And that one gets a lot of responses. Um, so yeah, just don't be desperate. Condense your scripts. Even one sentence cold emails, one sentence cold DMs, which I learned from Christian on Twitter. Um, Totally works a ton. Has definitely improved my responses and call book rates and all that sort of stuff.
For sure. No, I feel like it just helps even pique curiosity a little bit more with someone if you're only sending like one quick little question as opposed to an entire novel, like you said. I mean, I've experienced both where I've, thought like you mentioned, I typed up like everything in this email I said, and
Said
I'm like,
I'm Brett and I'm from and this is what I do. Like they don't give a
all this
fuck, dude.
information that would be a perfect, at least I would think would be a perfect fit. Like, why am I not getting responses? Then I've sent people just one, two, maybe three quick little sentences, and those just garner so much more response from people. It seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Awesome.
true. And also like your offer matters too, right?
100%.
Like
Yeah,
accounting is in demand, people need it. Like my email open rates are like 85, 90%. Like people just open them.
yeah,
And that can do with your targeting too. Like I said, if you're emailing contractors or doctors, your open rate is going to be way lower than if I'm emailing like a lot of marketing agencies and stuff. So
right.
they're a little more tech. They're on their computers more. They're checking their emails more. But the offer helps a lot too.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Yeah, so I kind of wanted to ask about just other ways you've helped or marketed your business. I know you touched on it a little bit earlier on TikTok, making YouTube videos. What else have you done as opposed to just reaching out over email or DM to people to kind of get like traffic on your pages, whether it be just posting more pictures, content, whatever it might be? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I said a little bit earlier, like there's outbound and inbound. So outbound, I'm sending cold DMs and I'm sending cold emails, and then inbound, I'm trying to curate that from making content. So I'm not as good as I should be, but I try to tweet a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and build that personal brand,
Right.
to where it's not just like I need an accountant. It's like, oh, I need an accountant and I want to work with him
Right.
specifically. And so I don't post all business and accounting stuff. It's like a mixture. I post stuff that's actionable, that makes sense, that would maybe make a business owner that doesn't have an accountant yet go like, oh, that makes sense. I need to start doing that, or maybe I
Mm-hmm.
should try this. But I also mix in there, your shit posting and your memes, and
Yeah.
I like to tweet a lot about how I'm a basketball coach. So I coach high school basketball. We won a tournament last week, went like 8-0. That was super, super
Right.
fun.
Awesome.
So I like to throw that stuff on there just to show that you're human. Like
Yeah.
people don't want to like
Work with a
people just
robot.
don't want to work with a fucking robot.
Yeah.
Like they want to know that you're a human of substance that has interests and
Yeah.
stuff outside. Like I'm not just an accountant. Like I
Yeah.
do a lot of other cool shit.
Mhm.
Um, which I like to think makes me more desirable to work with, especially to that younger money Twitter crowd for sure.
Makes it a lot easier to connect with people on other different things as well, as opposed to
It,
just strictly work, work, work.
it totally does. It totally does. I mean, and especially like I said, I played college football, so when I do connect with someone that does love sports or loves football or played even in high school, like we instantly have a connection
Yeah.
to where it just resonates with people to where that's why I don't just freaking ram accounting content all the time. I do mix in, just whatever's on my mind and some of that random stuff. And a great way to get more eyeballs on your stuff is, you just reply and engage with accounts that are bigger than you, and in a very authentic way. Like when you have something authentic to say, and then they interact with your stuff, and then all of a sudden you got 20,000 people that saw your Twitter profile or whatever it is.
Awesome, man. Yeah, and I'm sure just staying on top of it, you're constantly posting, you're constantly tweeting, posting on TikTok. You're getting a lot more engagement with people. So then people know you is because you're posting accounting content as well. People know you as the accountant. Then maybe 6 months down the road, they realize, hey, I need a new accountant. You're at the top of people's mind because you're constantly
Exactly.
posting. People are always seeing you, so they know, hey, like I need an accountant that Screech, the based accountant, is posting all the time, and you're gonna be one of, if not the first person they reach out to.
Exactly. And that's the whole point of it. So Cold Email Wizard taught me this a long time ago, and a lot of my online money shit I learned from those guys just straight up. I just did. They post so much good stuff. But I was on a call with him a long time ago, and he was like, what you need to understand is everybody needs accounting. So my total addressable market that I could pitch my services to is quite large. Even narrowing it down to online businesses, that's still tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of businesses, right?
Yeah.
And what he said was, but not everyone needs it right now.
Uh-huh.
So at any given moment, maybe 1% of that total addressable market is ready to buy, like right now, like they need an accountant. So the whole idea of posting the content is so when that person does go from, I don't need an accountant right now, and that switch flips to, oh shit, like I'm making some money, this is getting complex and time consuming, I need an accountant, I'm posting so much and I'm in front of them to where the first person they think of is me and they come to me. And
100%.
that's kind of the function and the purpose of growing those personal brands and being constantly posting. Because if I'm not, somebody else is. And they're going to hit that guy up because that guy was in front of them at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I try my best to be pretty consistent posting. Definitely something I'm still getting better at.
Cool.
But yeah, and I've gotten clients that way. Like some of my current clients right now are people that I engaged with on Twitter, talk to them. Maybe we're in the same online group or coaching program. Boom, all of a sudden this guy's making 30K a month and he's like, okay, yeah, like I need you. Let's talk. Let's get something worked out. And because they've seen my content, we've connected in the DMs or I reply to their stuff. It just makes for a super easy sell with someone that I want to work with too.
Right.
So it's really a win-win.
That's awesome. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I had just a couple more questions for you. What would be your advice for just a couple more business questions? Like your advice for someone who is looking to start a business, maybe for the first time. They don't really, maybe they don't know where to start, or there's that fear of starting, whatever it might be. What would be kind of the advice you would give someone like that?
So if they're wanting to start an online business, they're scared of starting. So really what happens a lot is people try to sell stuff that the market doesn't want.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear a lot of people give this advice. You want to pick a service and you want to have like a dream 100 clients and you want to do personal outreach to them and see if these people are even interested in what you're offering. And then, if you get a handful of people that are like, no, I don't need that, but I would love it if you did this, then it's like a lot of people are like, well, no, I don't do that. Like, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm doing. Where it's like, dude, you're dumb. Like, they're telling you what they will pay you to
Yeah.
do,
Mm-hmm.
to where, it's really at first, it's really just finding a need in the marketplace that is actually needed, like a problem that actually needs to be solved, of
Right.
something that people will actively and want to spend money on. Because people want to spend money.
Yeah.
If you can make them more money or save them time, they want to spend the money on that.
Yeah.
They just do. So, if people aren't buying your stuff, it's because they don't trust you don't have enough social proof, or your offer sucks.
Yep.
It usually kind of comes down to those two things a lot of the time. So really, just making sure that what you're selling people want. And that's kind of what I was, about the LLC stuff. I do think you need an LLC, and you should open up business bank accounts, but you don't have to do that until you find that service market fit. Like, you can start outreach to these companies and to these people and talking and figure out what the market wants and what it needs before you get an LLC. Toward then, as you're talking to people, even if you have an offer that you come up with and they're like, no, I'm not interested, I'm not in that. And then you could say, okay, well, what would you pay for? Like, what are you interested in right now? And if you do that to enough people, you'll start to see some common themes to where then you start offering that. Okay, now you have 2 or 3 clients, you're making, 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month. Okay, now let's open that LLC. Let's get those business bank accounts and start doing it the right way.
Awesome. Cool. Um, and then for you personally, what roadblocks maybe, and this could go into the advice for someone, but what roadblocks have you personally encountered so far, especially in the beginning of your journey, things that you had to overcome with your business journey specifically, roadblocks or bumps in the road that you hit that you learned from? And
Sure. So I think a lot of it at first is understanding how to quote people and how to charge people. Like there was a gap because you don't know what you don't know. Like for a while it was like I'm not even sure what the right rate is for these people. Or, one of my first clients, one of my earliest clients for just bookkeeping. I was like, yeah, I'll do it super cheap. You're like my second client. I'll do it like $200 a month, which is just disgustingly cheap. Like that is not even on the
Yeah.
table at this point
Right.
anymore. I mean, I quote people 10 times that amount now.
Right.
But at first I was like, yeah, 200 bucks, like I'll just do your bookkeeping. It'll be chill. It'll be easy. It's a landscaper. I already have a landscaping client. Like it can't be that much different.
Right.
And holy shit, it was fucking different. There's
Yeah.
freaking 6 bank accounts. They have employees. They're older, so they're using checks. It's just
Yeah.
all over the place. Like I would quote, like I said, 10 times that now. Um, so kind of just learning how to quote people and even on the sales calls, like it took time on the sales calls to have what I like to have ready to say in case of certain objections, which are all reasonable objections for sure. Um, but just some of that, kind of how to close some of those people, um, and really figuring out, okay, who is truly a good fit and who isn't. Because if you're truly not a good fit, like it's in both of our best interests not to work together.
100%.
So, figuring out how to quote people the right way, how to get that pricing, and that pricing has changed over time because we've added so many services over time. At first it was a lot of like, we'll do your bookkeeping. Okay, we can do your bookkeeping and your tax return. And then it's like, okay, I can charge more and I can provide more value if we just do all of it.
Yeah.
Like, so that's why we have those certain strategic partners. I've learned about new softwares to where like we can handle all of it now. Like we are all you need for accounting, really. We do all your bookkeeping, we do the financial statements, we give you visual reports with custom KPIs, all the cool stuff. We can run your payroll for your employees or for your S corp, and we do your business return. And if you're a sole owner, we can do your personal return too. Um, so it's just like one-stop shop. It becomes kind of a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I'll just handle all of it, and you get unlimited consulting, and we freaking are super responsive. Um, so yeah, just developing the product over time, as well as dialing in who is a good fit, dialing in how to quote people. Because at one point, I was like scared to like ask for $600 a month. Like not
Right.
even that long ago. Like a year ago, I was like on a sales call, like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna go for it. Um, and now last week I signed someone for like 2,200 a month, which is awesome, and I provide value that's worth that much.
Yeah. 100%.
Um, and one of those things too, a lot of that comes down to positioning, and I didn't really start to realize this until recently, but how you position yourself is everything. Like at first talking to these owners that don't really make a whole ton, and I'm like, yeah, like I'll do your bookkeeping and you can text me anytime. Well, okay. Like, that's just low value. Like if I told you that right now, you'd be like, okay, maybe $100, a couple $100 a month, maybe for
Yeah.
that. To where, you talk to businesses that make more money, first of all, and then you position it. How I've started positioning it is like, we're your outsourced accounting department. Like we're a whole department, and for what you need at this level of your business, if you wanted to hire someone to come in house, like even for just like a bachelor's degree, master's degree, no certifications, no experience, like you're 60, $70,000 a year at least.
Right.
And if you want someone that's a CPA, has some letters by their name, or has a few years experience, you're in 100K plus, especially depending on where you live. But really, you're looking at 100K plus to hire that person in house. So then 2K a month for our services, that's only 24,000 a year. So
Right.
positioning it with that frame of like, look, if you wanted to hire someone in-house to do the exact same thing that we're doing, probably even less and probably, not even as good as we'll do it, you're going to pay 4 times as much and you're going to pay taxes on what you pay them.
Yeah.
When you can pay us for half the price, quarter of the price, and you're going to get just as good, if not better, service with all the same communication and all the same services and the visual reports that accountant probably wouldn't do in-house. So then it kind of just becomes, like I said earlier, it becomes a little bit more of a no-brainer offer. It's like, oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I have, like I said, both the strategic partners I have are CPAs, and it's like I'm not a CPA. I have my master's degree in accounting,
Mm.
but you're getting that same level of care. You're getting CPA level care on your stuff, CPA doing your tax return, CPA doing your payroll. Someone highly knowledgeable and around CPAs all the time, doing the bookkeeping and doing these financial and visual reports that are super valuable. So, you know, finding that product market fit, selling to the right people, and getting your offer in the right positioning is everything. And it's what allows you to charge a lot more. And I'm just, like I said, I just recently discovered that.
Gotcha, man. Awesome. And then, yeah, just last question. I wanted to know, just like, kind of how has your personal life, and, everything you've been through, kind of led you to the path you're on right now? If you want to speak on that a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I had some rough times when I was younger, some family stuff, and my escape was sports. I played football, I played basketball, and I was blessed enough to get a football scholarship. And when I got there, I was kind of there to play football, and I was like, okay, well, I'm here. The school's getting paid for. Like, I might as well get the most out of it that I can. And at first, I was a business admin major, and I went and talked to my two mentors, who are real estate guys. They make a disgusting amount of money. They're just the greatest human beings on the earth. Super nice guys. Super honest, like super, super honest. And they looked me in the eyes, and they were like, dude, that is a worthless degree. Like, you're wasting your time. Change it. You'd be better changing it to accounting and getting all C's than staying business admin and getting all A's. And they were like, we both wish we had accounting degrees. Just do accounting.
Yeah.
And those are people that I'm trying to be like. So the next day I went and changed it to accounting.
Yeah.
Blindly. And I just did it.
Yeah.
I just straight did it. I was like, yep, if you think I need accounting, if that's what will help me be the best entrepreneur I can be, then I'm doing it. And it was one of the best things I've ever done in my whole life. And then through there, working for those other two firms, showed me some more of the opportunities in the industry. And I started working on that while I was in college. I didn't wait till I was after college to like, okay, now I'm going to build it. Like, start building while you're there. So then you can jump ship right away. You're already making a little bit of money. And that's what I was able to do. And now I'm just running with it and, working on growing it as big as I can.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, I appreciate you doing this. Was there anything else specifically that you wanted to touch on before we wrap this up?
No, I think this was good, man. I really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully we can do some more of these, maybe weekly or bi-weekly or something like that, and keep
Definitely.
ripping them and just go from there.
Yeah, we'll have to figure something out, man. Then before we hop off, then how can someone who saw this, who's interested in like booking a call with you, or just wants to see more of the content you post or whatever it might be, how can they find you? Like, what's your Twitter, TikTok, website, things like that?
Sure, so I'll go ahead and link all of those in the description.
Okay.
But the website is sledgeaccounting.com. You can book a call with me there and learn more about the services there. The Twitter is at Dylan Hendrickson, but without the A in Dylan, so Dyln. Or if you typed in Screech, it would probably pop up.
Okay.
And same for the other platforms. It's Screech, on YouTube and TikTok and that stuff. Like I said, I'll link all of those down there. I have a newsletter as well where I send accounting stuff out to. Yeah, it's all pretty sweet. I try my best to, for sure, something goes out on all of those weekly and a lot of them daily. Mostly active on Twitter, though. Really responsive and active on Twitter. The one other thing I would say we could chat real quick about before this ends is maybe just tell them a little bit about you and what you're doing and some of your sales experience in that industry.
Yeah, so I have been in the sales side of things for, let's see, about little over 3 years now. I got my start doing door-to-door sales, so selling pest control door-to-door. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or what I was doing, so I thought that would be a good way to just get out of my comfort zone, learn a new valuable skill, which is needed in every industry.
Totally.
Did door-to-door sales, was fairly successful at that, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about just communicating with people, made a decent amount of money. From there, I segued into inside sales, so doing cold calling, a lot of cold emailing, but
A lot of B2B, yeah.
yeah, business to business sales. Been doing that for a few years now, so I've learned a lot along the way. That I feel like I'm still getting better sales. So that's what I've been doing for the last few years, and it's been really really rewarding so far.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Brett's a killer in that space. He's going to be head of sales for Sledge Accounting someday. I'm working on getting him over here.
Just let me know. Let me know when.
But anyways, this has been sweet. We'll definitely do this again. I
Cool.
appreciate your time.
Awesome, man. Yeah. See ya.
Yeah, have a good one. We'll talk soon.